Can you hear me?
Yes. Hi, Roy.
Oh, we love technology when it works.
Perfect. And I do have that it is right at noon. And so we will go ahead and get started. And so, Roy, I will let you introduce yourself in just a minute.
Okay.
I just have a few things to go over. So welcome everybody to our October 3rd Thursday with Roy Noren. The couple things that I want to go over right before he takes the stage is just to mark your calendars for our Market Tech Conference. If you were there last year, you'll know why we're telling everyone to register now. We are hoping to sell out this year. And so mark your calendar for April 15th, 2020. That will be in Kearney, Nebraska. It's a one-day conference that's just jam-packed. You can find out more about this at markettechconference.com. And then we want to give a little shout out to our featured member this month, which is Water for Haiti. Water for Haiti is a faith-based, non-denominational organization working for the improvement of Haitian living standards. During the past 8 years, they have repaired over 600 pumps, some of which have been broken for almost 10 years. This small investment paid great dividends for the families of the surrounding villages, especially for the women. This is because the women and children are the primary carriers of the water. Without a reliable water source, many walk for several miles only to find polluted water. And so be sure to check out more information. You can find that at waterforhaiti.com. And so now, Roy, it is time for the man of the hour. And so let me stop sharing my screen and I will let you take over.
And drive?
Yep, yep, go ahead. Go ahead and start sharing your screen.
Okay.
And then I do want to let everyone know that while Roy is getting all set up and ready to go, that this is a casual webinar today. So if you have any questions while Roy is presenting, just raise your hand. It's part of the chat bar of Zoom, and then I'll be able to tell that you have a question. You can also type it in the chat directly to me or for the entire group, and we will try and get those answered as Roy is discussing that topic. We'll also allow for a few minutes at the end for some Q&A, and so send in your questions. And now I will, Roy, are you able to share your screen?
I think I've got it up, don't I?
I don't see it, but if you go down to the bottom and hit share and then find it, then everyone else will be able to see it, because I don't see it on my end.
Okay, let's see here. Bear with me just a second here. Okay, let's see here. Okay. You see it now?
No.
Huh. Okay, let me go back. Okay.
If you're on our Zoom screen, and then at the very bottom there should be a share option for you. Here we go. Perfect. Now we are ready to rock and roll. And so, Roy, before you dive into your presentation, if you just want to give a brief introduction so that everyone can get to know you a little bit more.
Yep, absolutely. So, my name is Roy Noren. I'm with a company we used to be called Performance Group, print broker based out of Omaha, Nebraska. I've been in the print industry about 37 years. That's probably dating me a little bit, but I've been a member of Grow for 5 or 6, maybe 7 years. Really enjoy it, and I just love packaging and labeling. So if there's some opportunities and you need some help, I'll be glad to work with you and give you some feedback. Maybe point you in the right direction where we can get headed in the right spot. But what I thought I would do real quick is just go around about and do introductions, so I just know who we've got on the line today. So just kind of chime in and let me know who all is on there. And what I also like to know is kind of what you'd like to learn out of this today, so I can hit some topics.
I'm Cathy Schutz with the Minden Chamber of Commerce in Minden, Nebraska.
Okay.
And just this is my, haven't been in this side of the industry for a while. And so I'm just trying to get updated and get back acclimated to, I'm mostly interested in the digital print.
Yeah, it's a fun place. It used to be that you were really limited to what you could do, and now kind of the sky's the limit. So yeah, we'll talk about a bunch of that stuff, Cathy. Well, thanks for joining us. So who else we got with us?
I know we have some more individuals with us. Some of them don't appear to have speakers at the moment.
Oh, okay. That can be, so.
But they can put in the chat if you guys want to chat that way.
All right. Well, I tell you what, here's what I'm going to do just to start us off. I've got kind of a little fun thing we'll do is I got a little bit of a quiz for everybody. And I think there's maybe even a Iowa person here, and I know there's mostly Nebraska people. But my email's on here. Send me a note and tell me what town Johnny Carson was born in. That's kind of a little quiz. So let's go ahead and jump in. Okay, let's talk about packaging. Packaging your product. I like to start. Where do you start? Say you got some jams or a grain product or a snack product. Where do you start with that? And feel free to holler and stop me midstream if you have a question. Love to answer them. But ultimately, you're going to sit on the shelf or compete with someone or something that's been around for a while, unless you really have something unique. But graphics. You want to start out with graphics, function, and one thing you want to keep in mind is the ability to scale your product. So you want to be able to start with X and get to Y, without having to reinvent the entire process every time. So some great options are digital print options, labels. There's some new technology. There's traditional dies where you have to buy hard physical tooling. That's still available, but there's new virtual dies. So say if you had a barbecue sauce where you want to have the labels with flames on it and actually flames on the edge, we can do kind of funky, fun stuff like that now. Used to be you're limited by your imagination. Now with the digital print, all that stuff's available. Different types of films for your snack products, imaging options. I'll show you some examples further on in this presentation where we bought, say someone had a barbecue sauce or a barbecue rub or a seasoning where they wanted to start out and they didn't have a huge budget, but they want to sit on a shelf next to the guys that have been there for quite a while. Well, we start out with what we call shelves, stock items that we can buy or you can buy, and then you add your own custom labels to it. And I've got some great examples of that. Some considerations, is your product going to go in rigid containers, glass, plastic, bottles, those kind of items, clamshells, plastic. Clamshells are popular anymore. What are you going to put on there? You're going to use a stock label, where you just thermal transfer an image on there, or you're going to use a custom label. To use flexographic technology, which is typically where there's plates involved in long runs, or you're going to go digital and have multiple versions. Considerations to look at, pouches, like stock clear pouches, stock black pouches, custom stand-up pouches, clear, golds or silver. Is it a film product, where you have vertical or horizontal form and fill? And I'll show you some examples of that. A big consideration with a lot of startups is, are you going to go business to business and wholesale, where you wholesale to someone else and retail on their shelf, or are you going to go direct to consumer? So when you consider that, one thing you have to do is, if you go B2C, how are you going to get it there? Think about units and sizes when you start your concept, because if you go business to consumer, you're going to compete with Amazon or be part of Amazon. You've got to get your product to them somehow. So like USPS has several different boxes you can buy that they're called, if it fits, it ships. So it could be 2 pounds, it could be 5 pounds, it could be 25 pounds. If it fits in those packages, it ships for a fixed amount anywhere in the nation. It's a pretty good option. UPS and FedEx have different zones, different weights, so it's kind of hard to calculate shipping costs up front if you do that. So something else to consider, there's a big environmental push on right now for more friendly options and getting rid of like those styrofoam peanuts and going with more recycled and earth-friendly fillers to put in your boxes when you ship the product. There's some new products out there, stock items. You can buy a blank, pre-printed with a thank you, or you can actually buy small quantities with your own custom logo and a note on there. That's an option. Flexible packaging, I got to tell you, that's kind of the new wave. You can do unique sizes, quickly becoming the industry standard in everything from grains to snacks to soups to ketchups to liquids. It's almost unlimited as far as the ability to do different shapes and sizes. High color cells, a lot of color, unique shapes. I'll give you a quick story. Teddy Grahams, the graham cracker manufacturer, did a market test 4 or 5 years ago. And what they did was they hired a marketing company to conduct a study on how customers perceive their products. And they marketed a special size box with special graphics, and then they built at the same time the same exact size of contents packaged in flexible packaging that looked like a Teddy Graham. It's pretty unique. I wish I still had a picture of it. I couldn't find it. But that Teddy Graham flexible packaging that looked like a teddy bear at the same shelf level as the other square or rectangular box with the same contents, same price, sold 7 times as many units as the traditional box. So, there's some unique opportunities out there, and there's some unique things you can do anymore. Lifestyles, we see it every day. Single serving, small serving, 1 serving items, everything from snacks to ketchup, of all things. You try to make the connection and make things easy for your customer. Grab and go type items. It's a big market right now. Here's where the fun stuff comes in. Consideration requirements, like I said, wholesale, retail, or a combination of both. UPC codes used to be just a regular barcode, and now they're turning into QR codes. That can take you to nutritional facts, to a landing page, to a story about your product. We see more and more of these, and they're getting actually more condensed and smaller. So that's a great opportunity, and you can put that on your packaging for no extra cost. I mean, that's the fun part about this. I do have some examples of this I'll show you as we move along. We're actually Grain Place did this. Here's an example. Here's one of the pouches that we did for them. It actually has a QR code on there, and it actually takes you right to their website. And I've seen it where it's taken right to their website and to their story. It allows you to order that. It might take you to a recipe. It might take you to something else, however you have that mapped. And that's not real difficult technology. It's all stuff you can do yourself without getting people involved. Have a fun thing. I tell you what, and if you want to send me an email, I will send you some links to some unique QR codes and some fun technology. The Subway QR code would bring you right to their site and give you this following information. Could be corporate information, nutritional facts, sign up for the newsletter, coupons on Facebook and integration, or store location. And you can incorporate all that into a program for yourself. Here's another example of the grain place pouches, some products that we did for them. They all have QR codes on the back of them. And it takes you to their site or those individual products. That's kind of a fun thing to do. Like I said, the cost is not huge. What does the future hold for product packaging? You know, more and more lifestyle solutions, customer engagement, augmented reality. And I don't know if everyone has seen that. That's where you download an app onto your phone, and you may put your phone actually in front of a bottle of wine. Say, I'll give you a great example is 19 Crimes wine. They did a program here about 2 years ago. They're only about 3 years old, and within a year they had over 1 million followers. And 19 Crimes is their signature mantra or theme is about outlaws that made it to Australia. And they've got 7 or 8 different ones. So you actually put the phone up, you download the app, you put the phone up to the front of the bottle, and the prisoner looks like he's talking to you. It's really cool technology. Now that can get pretty expensive. There's some different ways of doing that, but you talk about really unique customer engagement. It's a lot of fun. Tell you a quick story. 2 years ago, I was into Hy-Vee, and every time I'd walk in, the liquor store manager or the liquor department manager got to know me pretty well that year. But that's another story. So I'd walk over to the 19 Crimes bottles of wine, and I'd stand there and hold the bottle, put my cell phone up to it, hit the app, and the thing would start talking to you. By the time I left 2 or 3 minutes later, I'd have half a dozen people standing around me, and they're all wanting to know the story behind that. They'd sell out of that stuff a couple times a week. And for $9.99, it's not a bad wine. So some other things to consider here. You know, a big move in the market is not to include water in the products and ship condensed products where you add your own H2O. That's a big deal right now with shipping costs and things like that, and storage. And then also multiple component solution. So, well, here's a copy of that augmented reality. So if you have a Hy-Vee near you, chances are they probably have these on the shelf. What you do, you just download that app for 19 Crimes, walk up to the bottle and snap it on there, and it takes off. It's really cool technology. It talks about what they're accused of in this case, and what they're doing. Here's another example of the grain place foods. And I'll tell you what we did with them. We kind of helped them with their packaging get into Whole Foods. And they had a couple of different ideas. They were using just blank, clear pouches before and putting a label on them. So we came up with a concept. They actually had large enough quantities to do the standalone popcorn by itself. So we did that. The favorite mixed 5 grains and the rolled oats, we came up with a generic pouch. And because they had 30 different versions in smaller quantities, and showed them how to print. We sold them what I call crystal clear labels and a white resin ribbon for the thermal transfer printer, and they versioned all those other pouches with the unique products themselves. So, but that was a way for them to continue to build a brand. The look and feel is the same, and 99 people out of 100 would never know there's a label on those rolled oats and the favorite mixed 5 grains. Matter of fact, I've had people hold the pouches and they don't even know, because that crystal clear label material is so thin on the front of there, and it looks great. It looks like it was actually printed on the bag or pouch. So Here's another fun example I worked with Rod Uri out in North Platte. He's got a product, Wild Sky Seasonings, and there's a number of different wild game seasonings and brines out on the market, and he knew that. We talked about that up front, and he wanted a good looking product that would sit on a shelf. What we did, we got a stock black pouch, the size he needed, and then made sure it fit in the smallest USPS box that at the time you could ship anywhere in the nation for, I think it was $4.99. So we actually did a digitally printed Wild Sky Seasoning label for the front of it, and he had a local co-packer do the packaging for him. But he's got a great looking product without spending a ton of money on packaging. So, and then he can scale that. So when the quantities get to the point to where he needs to scale and move to larger runs, we can actually print that pouch rather than supply a stock pouch, supply a black stock pouch with a thermal or with a digitally printed label. And most customers would never know there was a difference once we make that step. So it's all about building a brand and then keeping that brand consistent as you continue to grow. This was a fun one I worked on a couple years ago. It was called A Lot of Brownies. She was based out of Fremont, Nebraska. And she since rebranded it. It is called Omaha Bakery. But Michelle was marketing at the time 5 different products. And this is as good a photo as I could get on my phone. So what we did, we came up with a custom box, the size she needed. And the challenge was she had 5 different versions. Well, she didn't want to buy the plates and for all those. So we bought the tooling for those 5 boxes, ran a large quantity of those, and then we labeled each, or we did runs of labels so she could personalize each one of those SKUs with a different product. I think she had key lime, scones, brownies, and 2 other kinds. But those sit on the shelf. The matches are kind of whimsical. She had great results, and it was kind of a fun project. It was a way she kind of got started building her brand. Here's an example of some fun stuff. On the right-hand side, we do a lot of work with Baker's Candy, and they came to us and wanted a package that they were going to sell through Walgreens, I believe it was. Something that was sit on the shelf and look really nice. So we helped them out with what we call flat bottom pouch. And they sell their meltaways in there. The center one is actually a dog gravy product that's liquid in there. The top left is a septic tank maintenance product. Those are both liquids. Down below are what we call, on the left and the center, are what we call multi-chamber packaging. So if you sell a kit or want to design a kit, there's options for you to do that, where you can have a couple of different items in one product, like that McCormick's is like a stew mix. So there's some options for you out there. The big rage in the industry right now is single serving stick packs. Everyone's probably seen them, everything from drinks to energy drinks to, even candy. So single serving, it's a huge market. It's all about convenience and customer convenience. We see that growing actually by leaps and bounds. Fast forward, takeaway on labels. There's increases in private label, shorter runs. I'll give you an example. I was at the store the other day, and it used to be Heinz ketchup was Heinz ketchup. I got to looking, there's like 8 different types. There's, no corn syrup, and there's, everything under the sun, low fat. So there's all kinds of different versions. That's not going away. I call those niche markets. That's here to stay, and that's just part of the marketing deal anymore. More package testing. See more seasonal items, regional, with co-branding. I'll give you an example. We looked at a project a couple years ago. Procter & Gamble launched for a couple years a project called late stage differentiation. So if you went down to Kansas City within a month of them having the race down there, they would put like the NASCAR sticker on their deodorants and toothpaste and things like that. They thought there was such a connection to those items that they'd actually get a lift in margin by having that on there, and they were relatively successful. So that's a big deal. Increased customization for highly targeted markets or event marketing. Regional, seasonal, you see team stuff. You know, almost the sky's the limit with digital printing. You know, the next hot topic, like I had mentioned earlier, is the QR codes, the interactive marketing. You know, it's all about building a brand, engaging the customer, getting them to feel like they've got some ownership in your product. You know, you want to be able to tell that story and have them feel like they're part of the family. So more on-the-fly streamlined solutions with variable options like those stick packs. You know, that's a really big deal. Improvement, supply chain management. You know, everyone's kind of short in the window on as far as the time to be able to produce stuff. That's not going to get longer. I mean, everyone wants faster, more, quicker, lower cost. An huge emphasis on sustainability and earth-friendly options. You know, recycling is making some big gains on the packaging and the film side. It's not really there yet. The reason for that is the barrier that's required for a lot of products. I think you'll see some improvements in the next year or so, but if you've got something like a seasoning or something where you really need a solid barrier product that doesn't absorb moisture, some of those films are just the only way to do that. There's nothing out there really good yet. I know they're close in a couple areas, but that's a big deal. Sustainability. Increased traceability has gotten to be a bigger and bigger issue for a lot of reasons. Even in the pet market, you know, pet foods, bird foods, human, you know, all kinds of human bath bombs, all those things, complete traceability. You got to be able to, if you have a recall, you got to be able to get back to the day and the shift that thing was produced on for traceability. That's that with the government involved, that's going to continue to grow. Like I said, more media options. The films are better than they've ever been. The label materials are better than they've ever been. The liners on the labels is still not recyclable because of the material that's in it. You know, there's been big strides made. We're just not quite there yet. We're not quite there yet. A new wave in technology for packaging. Like I said, digital printing in the last year or two is really racing onto the market. A good example is pouches. Up until about 2 years ago, it was almost unheard of to do digital pouches. Now we've got the capability, and there's a number of people out there as well that have the capability to do pouches digitally printed in 15 work days. I mean, that was unbelievable a couple years ago. You know, you typically think of flexible packaging or film, typical lead times 4, 6, 8 weeks. And then you got huge investment in plates. The digital printing, there are no plate costs. So there's a per each cost is a little higher, but just think about all the different versioning. We actually have the ability on pouches. If you, and I'll give you an example. I'll show you an example. It's called dynamic pagination, and I used the Grow Nebraska Grow Now as an example. There's a product out there through this dynamic personalization where you can supply a template, and as we print those labels or packaging, it goes through an algorithm, and there's millions of different designs. So no label or no packaging is the same. I can do that today. If someone wanted to order 5,000 labels, that technology is available for you, and it's not a huge cost. So if you got a kind of a whimsical product or something that's kind of fun, you want to do something really different, there's some opportunities for you there. I'm actually working with a brewery right now that has 6 different core items and they've got a solid color on the front of their can, and on the two sides there's like a flannel pattern graphic on both sides. So we're talking about doing this dynamic pagination, which would be kind of fun. So, because at the end of the day, your product's got to compete with the guys on the shelf. They've been there quite a while. So you want people to walk by that and say, hey, that's really cool. It's got to be a good product. But, you know, these little things have a huge impact on what people buy. Here's another example of that. Millions of different combinations. Here's another example. I apologize for the photo. Some of these got a little bit fuzzy. You know, here's Smirnoff vodka, which is a fun one. They actually did shrink wraps or shrink sleeves. So they actually slide those over the bottle, run them through a tunnel, and they actually shrink down to the size of the bottle. Here's a really fun one. This is a liquor, and if you look at the elephant's ears, they actually have different colors and different patterns on them. Really, really cool customer engagement. These are all technologies you can do today. Here's Nutella. You know, that product sits on the shelf. They've got millions of different combinations. That has their brand, and it still has all the special instructions, nutritional facts, and all that on the back. But look at all the different opportunities for different patterns on there. I think that's just incredible. So a lot of fun. Bud Light did the same thing. They had a lot of fun with that. Coca-Cola, and I think I've got one of those. Coke did that in Europe. I believe they started out and actually put names on them, which is kind of fun. But, you know, so everyone's always buying a Coke looking to see if they've got their name on there. But these were actually shrink sleeves that they did the same process on. All right, and that, like I said, that's called dynamic personalization. It's a software program with unlimited unique labels and capability. You know, anything you can think of is kind of, you know, I hate to say it, but it used to be you're limited, but well, you can do this, you can do this, you can do this. Now it's almost unlimited, 100% random colors. Opportunities for you know, if you want to put people's names on there, cities, anything you want. So here's another example. Planters Peanuts. How cool is that? I mean, that's just engaging marketing. That's kind of what I had. You know, if you have some questions, let me know. I'd love to take any answer or questions you have. I kind of ran through that a little bit. If there's any questions, let me know. I'd love the opportunity to help, and just drop me a line. Thanks for your time today, guys.
Thanks, Roy. That was really great information. I do know that Jeff was looking to learn about the vertical fill packaging.
Okay.
So if you want to touch on that a little bit more.
Yeah. Jeff, what kind of product you have, or do you have something in mind?
And we're just going to have to wait for Jeff to chat to us about that.
Okay.
He doesn't have audio right now.
Oh, okay. Or if he wants to send me an email, I'd be glad to call him back here shortly. I can do that.
Yep. And he said the stick pack.
All right. Does he have a product in mind he's thinking of, or? Because, you know, I'll tell you a little bit about that. You know, that's a great option for like a powder or a, you know, energy drink. I could line you up with a co-packer, and I know some people that do that. I supply the film, and then you want to work with a co-packer to do that. And there's kind of like two different markets for that. There's kind of a boutique co-packers, and then there's the behemoth ones. So depending upon what kind of product you have, I could probably give you some names of some people to talk to. But Go ahead.
Yep, it sounds like you're kind of right on target. He has a hydration stick packs that are powder filled.
Okay. Yep. And it's Jeff with, who is he with? Yeah.
I'm gonna guess TM Brands. I have his email, so
Okay.
I'll just send both Roy,
Yeah.
you, and Jeff an email so I can put you right in contact with each other.
Yeah. That would be great. But yeah, stick packs is a real growing market, self-serve, single serving type items. So, but one of the things I wanted to just kind of leave everyone with, used to be, like I said, you're kind of limited where you could start, what you could do, and you know what? It's really not as hard anymore. What I like to do kind of a discovery process with people when they call, and just understand kind of where you are today, where you want to go, and then what kind of budget you have, and we can usually come up with a program or a product to help you get there. So we've done this a number of times, and we'd love to help. So, well, thank you for your time today, everybody.
And Roy, I actually had another question come in.
Yep.
This particular person heard you mention that you about shorter runs, and they were just wondering if you could comment on that further.
Yeah, I mean, we do everything from 500 to 5 million. And what we do, we don't have any equipment. We typically work with customers, or pardon me, plants that don't have a sales force. So what does that mean? Well, it's really simple. It's like when you go to Hy-Vee. Hy-Vee doesn't make anything themselves. They just make the experience real easy for you. So we have a discussion. We talk about your project. And like on the label side, I probably got a dozen different label plants that I work with. And some are really good on small quantities, some are really good on medium quantities, and some are really good on long run quantities. So once we determine what your needs are, we'll go to that plant that best fits your requirements. And that could be a digital print, it could be small quantity, it could be longer run with plates involved, because once you get so far to a certain quantity, it makes sense to go traditional flexo and go long run. But we've got kind of one size fits all in the approach that we take, and try to size up your requirements and needs with one of the plants. So that's kind of how we approach that. Hopefully that helps. And if you have more questions, just feel free to give me a call.
And Roy, is there a minimum that you typically recommend for a run?
It depends upon the size of the label, and if it's we can do 250 or 500. It just depends upon really what you're wanting to do. I tell people, I try to encourage people not to buy more than typically 6 months supplies of labels, because what most people never talk about is there's really only a guarantee on that material for 1 year from when it's been actually cut out of master rolls. That's not from when it's been converted. And if you work with a mainline supplier like us, we work with plants that have a lot of volume and buy material the right way, and we rely on them to keep the right material on hand when we need it. And the other thing is, there's some programs out there for small quantities where we can get specialty materials as well. But I'd never recommend ordering more than 6 months supplies of stuff, because after it's a year old, it may still work. In 99 times out of 100 it will, but that material is only really guaranteed to work the function the way it's designed to for a year. So hopefully that helps. Any other questions? Or
No, that was great information. I do not see any other questions that has came through the chat as of lately.
okay.
If you guys want to unmute yourselves, you can ask. You do have the capability to unmute. Otherwise, while people are kind of thinking about maybe questions, I do just want to let you know that our next T3 is scheduled It'll be Tony Schultz from SBDC, and he'll be discussing marketing plan basics. So be sure to mark your calendar for Thursday, November 21st, and you can register just like you did today. Today's presentation was recorded, and it will be sent out to everyone who registered. And so if you want to hear what Roy had to say again, look for that email. It'll also be on our Grow Nebraska website under on-demand trainings. And then I will just put up the contact information for Jessie. She is our training director. And so if you have any comments or follow-up questions and you want to reach out to us instead of Roy, feel free. We'll make sure that we get you in touch. And so this is kind of, yes. The slides will be part of the presentation. I guess, Roy, I had a question that they wanted to know if your slides would be available.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep, so we will make his slides available as well.
You know what, let me send you this most current one because I tweaked a couple things and put my contact information on there. So yeah, let me send that. You want me to send it to Jessie?
Yes, that would be perfect.
Okay. The other thing I was just going to say, we were purchased by DFI at the beginning of October. So my contact information should be updated with Grow Nebraska. But what I would look for, and we haven't done this in the past, but probably every quarter we're going to send out or advertise, I shouldn't say advertise, put out offers out there to the members. And some of the stuff we're talking about doing is offering like 2 or 3 different designs for labels for a small amount of money, which is kind of unique in the industry. And then also something that's new to us is we're going to start selling the thermal transfer printers and barcode equipment, which we haven't done in the past. So we'll be able to offer that through the members as well. So we're excited. This is going to be a good thing, being part of the DFI solution with us.
Yes, and that is very exciting. So I'm glad that you could make that announcement, and
Yep.
We'll look forward to being able to push that out to everybody for that great opportunity.
Yep, very good.
So with that, I want to thank everyone for joining us today. And again, if you have any questions come up, just let us know and we can get them answered. Roy, thank you again for the great information.
Yep.
We greatly appreciate your time.
Yep, thank you. Have a good day, everybody.